are going to be talking about one of the most iconic 80s movies of all time. Ferris. Anyone? Bueller. Are you okay? Do you have something in your throat?
No, I think I'm fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was just adding to the scene.
Okay, so hopefully everyone understood that.
Jeez, I wonder what film we're going to be talking about.
I
don't know,
hope
but
everyone understood that.
yeah, either way, how are you?
I'm doing swell. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I think you're one of the only people who's asked back. Everyone else just goes,
Really?
I'm good. So the film...
Wow. How are you really feeling, Jared?
Feeling better now.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Triple J Studios podcast. And today we're joined by the one and only person who shot me in Walton Ross 3.
Hello.
The very talented Emmy.
The Frenchiest fry. So sorry.
Great.
We're already off to...
So, I'm guessing from the opening that you've seen this film a couple times. Once or twice.
9 times.
9.
9 times.
Great. So...
It's probably about 9 times.
Do you happen to remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I think it was with my parents. They were like, okay, you have to watch this movie. It's a classic. And so I did, and immediately wanted to skip school the next day, you know? It's a movie that makes me want to skip school.
Like, it's a movie you watch when you skip school.
Yeah.
Kind of be that one guy. So, The film was directed by John Hughes, which we've talked about before in The Breakfast Club and a lot of other very famous 80s films.
16 Candles.
16 Candles as well. It starred, of course, Matthew Broderick, Mia Sara, and Alan Ruck as the three main protagonists. The music was done by Ira Newborn, and with a budget of $5.8 million, it got a box office of $70.1 million. So, pretty good. I'd say it was pretty successful.
It actually sucked at first, and I think it was the first viewing that they did when all the actors got to see it. It was bad. But John Hughes, he was like, it's okay. I got it. Just give me a second. And then he edited it and fixed it, and it was a hit.
It was
obviously.
All set.
Yeah.
The first script that was done for it was done in 6 days. So there were probably many hiccups with it.
I read about that, yeah.
Yes. And then in 2014, the film was selected into the Library of Congress, which, for those who don't know, is essentially the higher up for film. To put that in context, which I keep doing, Cinderella from 1950 was put into the Library of Congress in 2017. And it has to be culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Wow.
How this one fits, I don't know, but...
I mean, it is a classic of the 80s.
So probably captured a lot of the history around it.
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
Yeah, I would say that's probably what they were going for. So that's essentially a very high honor. And before we get into it, was there... Here, I have a list of some of the actors' names as well. We have Alan Ruck, Jennifer Aston as Jeannie, Charlie Sheen as Ferris Bueller, Amy...
Oh, wait.
Wait, no.
No, Charlie Sheen's the criminal dude at the police station. Matthew Broderick is Ferris Bueller.
I'm getting Charlie Schlattner.
Oh.
Schlatter. In almost every single podcast I do, there's one
Jennifer
name
Aniston is not Jeannie Bueller. That's Jennifer Grey.
You know what? This might have been... Did I get the wrong name?
You totally did.
Oh, I got the Ferris Bueller sitcom.
What?
There's
that
a
exists?
Sitcom? Well, I guess we're going to have to do another podcast.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know this.
Okay. The plot thickens. So, okay. Now that I have the names, Matthew Broderick was Ferris Bueller. Yeah, so sorry, ignore that part. Matthew Broderick, Ferris Bueller, Alan Ruck, Cameron Frey, Mia Sara played Salome, Jeffrey Jones played Ed, who we'll talk about him later.
And Rooney.
Yeah, Jennifer Grey, Jeannie, Sydney is Katie. Essentially, Charlie Sheen was the boy in the police station.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who didn't sleep for 2 days, apparently. Allegedly, he did not sleep for 2 days.
In real life, or
for the role, so that he looked dead.
That'll work.
Yeah, he really did.
So, all right, since you kind of have more of a plot synopsis than I do,
okay,
how does it open?
So you start off and you see this sick teenager, just
And you really feel for him.
Oh, yeah, you feel for him. He's sick and dying. But then, it seems like a little too much because they're like, oh, he's so sick. His parents are just, in his room. And he's like, oh, wait, no, I can get up. I have a test today. He's like, ugh. Yeah, super dramatically falls back in the bed. And you're like, wait a minute.
Doesn't he even go like, sister, is that you?
Jeannie, I can't see that far.
Yeah.
He's like, be thankful. You have your health. Like, it's just so, it's so dramatic. And something's wrong. And the parents are just so oblivious. And they're like, oh, Ferris, it's okay. You can stay home or whatever.
Which is the dream.
The dream, yeah. And then Jeannie's like, if I were, like, my eyes were bleeding out, you'd make me go to school. And I feel that. I feel like sometimes that is how it is. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, so, usually it's vice versa for me in the sense of like I'm like I know I can't go to school, but I have to.
Oh yeah.
So
I'll find
a way. And then this is when Ferris breaks the fourth wall, which is essentially when a main character or any character talks directly to the audience in simplest terms. And what did you think about breaking the fourth wall so early on?
I love it. I love it so much because I think it fits his character, He's talking, like, straight to you, and you guys are friends. You're pals. He's like, this is how you skip school. And you're like, I like this guy.
Like you're taking notes while watching it?
Yeah, no, seriously. And you're just, he's talking straight to you, and you feel like you can relate with him because what brings people together, like skipping school and the hatred of high school? It's just...
Which everyone can relate to.
Everyone can relate to that, yeah. And so I like that he broke the fourth wall because you automatically feel like you're friends with him and you like him. And as you can see later on throughout the entire movie, is that everyone loves Ferris Bueller. And he's just super charming and he's loved by literally everyone in the entire city of Chicago. So I think it fits his character pretty well.
Yeah, and this film takes a very different approach from... I'm just going to use The Breakfast Club, which you kind of understand the basic premise.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the sense of, like, in that movie, it was essentially everyone's there, quote-unquote, popular for a specific reason of, like, Jock and then the weird, mysterious kid, all of that, which we talked about in our other podcast. But this one took a much different approach in the sense that he didn't really fit into any clique. He was just more of, he's the cool kid because he's charming.
Yeah, just because he can charm literally anyone.
Yeah, so breaks the fourth wall, a lot of little nods to just like different things around his room. Like I think didn't he have the British flag on his door?
I think so. That sounds...
Even though you watched it 9 times.
9 times. Which that is also a reference in case you were not aware.
Which we were about to talk about.
Cool.
So we move a little bit forward and the Dean of Students, who's Ed Rooney, who's essentially our antagonist in this film.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know about this Ferris kid. He seems to be skipping school. How many times?
9 times.
And then once again, Ferris hacks into the school computer and is able to decrease those numbers to 2 times. And of course, he starts freaking out. And this is also when we're introduced to Cameron Frey, played by Alan Ruck.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a good time to ask about his character. Do you believe that his character, if he was taken out, how do you think the film would be instead, without his character?
I don't think it'd be the same at all, obviously. I mean, I read something where it kind of said that Cameron was sort of the main protagonist because he goes through the most character development throughout the movie. Because Ferris Bueller just stays the same the entire time. He doesn't learn Ferris anything Bueller. No, he's still, everything just is easy for him. Everything happens the way he wants it to because he's Ferris Bueller. Please. But Cameron's like scared of everything. He's like, I'm dying. I'm not going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. He's so uptight. He's terrified of his dad. And then by the end, he's like, yeah, let's take my car and go around downtown and, skip school and stuff. And then he decides he's going to take a stand to his dad. And he goes through the most character development. And that's all thanks to Ferris Bueller, of course. But yeah, I think we did need him to see some sort of character development for that to, be satisfying.
Because I have talked to a couple other people, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really like Cameron," or like
excuse
things
you.
like that. Something to not like in Ferris Bueller.
Good God.
But yeah, it was just one of those. I think that's about the same idea of that. If Cameron wasn't in it, then it would just be a whole bunch of slapstick, and he played the voice of reason. Throughout the film, essentially.
He was the moral compass. He's like, no, please, no. Let's not do this. And then they do it anyway.
Yeah, to which Ferris is like, we got it.
At least someone had some common sense,
Yeah. And then Cameron eventually does come over because Ferris keeps bothering him. And their main goal...
He'll keep calling me.
I'm not doing it. I'm going. And this is when he goes back and he gets him to call the principal in order to steal... or get Ferris's girlfriend, Salone, played by Mira Sarah, out of high school. And you're giggling over there.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about it. What was his name? Was it George Peterson? Was that the dad's name? He was like, this is George Peterson. I can't really...
It's actually really good.
Wow. I didn't know I could do that. Apparently... I don't know. Alan Ruck, that's the name of the actor, like Cameron Fry. Yeah.
Yep.
He was really, really good friends with Matthew Broderick outside of the movie. Like, they had been friends before. So that chemistry was, like, already there because they were friends in real life.
Oh, okay.
And apparently that voice that he did for Mr. Peterson was an inside joke between the two of them because they worked together on another movie. And that was, like, an impression they did of, I guess, the director for that movie. So that's how it made its way.
I wonder if he knew about that before or after the film.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. Since she was like, this is George Peterson. I can't even do it.
George Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he calls the school, says he's Sloane's dad, and says that their grandmother has died and that she needs to leave and come home.
To which, of course, Ed Rooney, being the respectable principal he is, uses some very mature language.
Oh, very mature,
that,
yes.
We will not be
Only
saying.
the most adulty language. Anyways, he basically thinks it's Ferris Bueller trying to get Sloane outside of school because he asks his secretary who Sloane's going out with because this just seems too
suspicious.
Too suspicious. So she's like, oh, well, I think I see her hanging around with Ferris Bueller a lot. And he's like, oh, okay. I got it figured out, and starts totally trash talking, quote unquote, Mr. Peterson, thinking that it's Ferris Bueller.
To which eventually it's revealed that it's not Ferris Bueller,
and everyone thinks it's actually Sloane's dad, and he's freaking out because Ferris Bueller calls at the same time that quote unquote Mr. Peterson is on the phone. And then he realizes it's actually her dad, or so we think, and starts apologizing, freaking out, and then it cuts to a shot of Cameron on the phone doing the impression of Mr. Peterson.
To which he's going full on into this presentation that he's doing. He's like leaning into the phone and really playing the part.
He was so into it.
To which they eventually figure it out and they go, okay, we're going to have Salone meet out front in the front of the building.
By herself.
Yeah,
and then
herself.
Ferris smacks the phone. He's like, yeah, that's so suspicious. Or whatever. He's like, okay, I need you outside with her. And he's like, no, you're stupid. And he's like, I did not hit you. I lightly slapped you. Which is every sibling argument ever.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
they eventually go like, okay, well, fine. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So how are we going to get there? Well, we can't take his piece of junk. He calls it a different thing, but I'm gonna call it a piece of junk. And they decide to take a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California Spider.
Which is a beautiful car, by the way.
Very nice. I just called it Neat Car. Because there is no way that I could remember that name, but it's a very, very nice car.
Only about 100 of them were made ever.
Which I don't know if it's true or not.
According to the movie.
According to the movie, which is our reference.
Yeah, which just emphasizes how rare it is.
Which it's also simply known as just the Ferrari 250.
Okay.
But yeah, they decide to take that, and they go and find Salone out in the front. Mm-hmm. And Ed's kind of doing this whole little thing of like, hey, it's going to be okay.
Between grief and nothing. I'd take grief. And she's like, okay, great, whatever. Get me out of here, please.
Yeah, please. I just want to go home. So they get home, they get out, and then Ferris and Stallone, you could tell they were dating for a while. Very passionate. Who is
yeah. So she goes over and walks to who Mr. Rooney thinks is her dad, but it's actually Ferris, and they greet each other in a way that a parent and a child normally don't. So Ed Rooney's just like, so that's how it is in their family. Walks off. Even though he suspected Ferris Bueller of doing this, he's like, okay, that's just weird. Stupid.
Yeah, I guess this is normal here.
Yeah.
So we keep going, and then Ferris is trying to talk to Cameron by going like, look, we'll return the car as it was. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Bada bing, bada boom. That's how he talks.
This is how Ferris Bueller talks, if you did not know.
Throughout the whole film. It's essentially Fonzie from Happy Days.
He's a 20s gangster.
Oh, yeah. That's probably why I could relate to him. So they go out and they go into downtown Chicago. And immediately Cameron is like, no, we got to return this right now. Mm-hmm. And guy comes up, relax. I got this.
I'm a professional. A professional what?
Yeah. Gets in the car, and then this is when we see that immediately him and another buddy jump in the car and they drive off with the car.
Yep.
Now, the first time you saw this film, what did you think was going to happen? Because originally I thought it was going to switch to their point of view for a minute.
What do you mean?
In the sense of like for maybe 5 minutes or so, it would go to their point of view of what they're doing with it.
And the people in the car?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I just knew something fishy was going to happen. I don't think they needed to go on for a while explaining it, because I think it's pretty obvious what was going to happen. But
and this does, of course, become much more evident throughout.
Yeah, they have a couple, I think they have a scene more towards the end-ish of them driving in.
That's more near the climax.
Yeah.
Or like right before it.
Yeah.
So this is essentially where the rest of the film takes place, is in downtown Chicago, and they start to explore the city, and they go to the art, and I'm just reading off a list here, the Art Institute of Chicago, Sears Tower, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and they go into a ball game at the Wrigley Field. So out of these areas, where did you think that the best scene was?
Is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange the restaurant? I'm assuming.
It's a marketplace.
Oh, no. That's where they're... That place.
That place, yeah.
Yeah, I know what it is now, but I don't know how to explain it.
All right.
I
don't really think the restaurant had a name in the film. It was just a fancy restaurant.
Oh, crap. I knew the name. Oh, well. Anyways, I think that was my favorite scene. That is a place where they went, because that's when they go in and he looks at like the reservation list. It was this super, super fancy restaurant in Chicago, and he looks at the reservation list to try to get in. And he sees...
Sausage King of Chicago.
He sees Abe Froman. He's like, you're Abe Froman, this snooty dude in a mustache. And he's like, yes. He's like, the Sausage King of Chicago, because apparently Abe Froman is the Sausage King of Chicago. And he's like... yes, this 17-year-old child is most definitely the Sausage King of Chicago. And of course... Are you
saying I'm not who I say I am?
Yeah, so he doesn't believe him, obviously, because he's lying. And, so he's like, if you don't leave, I'm going to have to call the police, which seems like a very drastic measure.
In a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
Which makes you scared to go to a fancy restaurant.
It really does. So that happens, and he's like, well... then I'm going to call the police. He's like, this is just... And then...
As the fancy do.
They just... And then Sloane, I believe, walks off and uses a phone on the other side of the restaurant. Or something to that effect. And then Snooty Man with the mustache picks up and he's like, hello, who is this? And she's like, hi, I need to speak to Abe Froman, please. And he's like, yes, could you describe him for me? Oh, I've got him. And she was like, oh, and perfectly describes Ferris Bueller. And he's like, oh, crap. Oh. And then they all sit down and they're having their lunch at this fancy restaurant because the plan worked. And he's like, again, I'm so sorry. He's like,
well, we all need patience in order to stand with people of your standards or something like that.
Basically just giving him a taste of his own medicine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great time.
And eventually, Ferris goes back to the bathroom, and this is where we're given more background on Cameron's personal life.
Mm-hmm.
throughout it,
Yep.
which it's described that he has more of a, not really abusive, but more of kind of a isolated family.
Yeah, not the most ideal. He says that his house is like a museum. You can't touch anything, and it's very cold.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Because everything, he said the house is very beautiful. You can't touch anything. I mean, all
and
the
it
fancy
smells
things.
or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Because, I mean, they've got these fancy cars, you know, and he's so uptight, which, I know. I mean, you guess he got it from his parents with all the fancy museum-y things that are in the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you learn a little bit more about Cameron and why he's so uptight and why he didn't want to do anything breaking the rules.
To which we keep switching back and forth during this scene of
yes,
Bueller explaining this and Cameron just eating like nuts.
Yeah.
Just downing the food, which I guess was pretty good.
Apparently so. They ate pancreas. Can you imagine?
Oh, is that it?
I don't know if that's what he was eating, but they did indeed eat pancreas.
Yeah, I know at the Animal Kingdom in Orlando you can eat octopus.
Ew.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, but I've just seen people eat it and they're...
Slimy.
Oh no, they keep the tentacle on it. So...
I'm a picky eater, guys. Just give me some chicken tenders.
Chicken tenders and mac and cheese, that's all I want.
That's all I want.
That's just it. If we went to a fancy restaurant, I'd be like, can we have the kids menu?
I'm not even kidding. That's me.
So they leave, and then the other the other scenes, this scene seemed the most diverse. Like, this was the one that they're like, this is the story. Because they went to the Art Institute, looked around for a little bit, went to a Sears Tower, which was the tallest building in the world. I believe now it's Beijing, somewhere on there.
Is it in
I don't know.
Dubai?
Dubai, that was it. It was something to that extent. But yeah, in a lot of these other scenes, not a whole lot really happens. Mm-hmm. It's just more of one little gag, and that's it. Dubai, since 2008, called Burj Khalifa.
We're so sorry, Dubai.
No, that's how you say it. I'm sticking with it. When there's a J in it, So, yeah, not a whole lot. I would have rathered these scenes to have gone on a little bit longer, personally. Yeah. And while the trio are at the ball game, we go back to Ed, who's kind of walking around, and he's...
Oh, yeah. So, at this point, it has been Ed Rooney's mission to find Ferris Bueller and see what he is up to, because he is not buying this sick thing. Because
as every principal would do.
Not true. Because he's missed 9 days of school, if you did not know already. Just in this semester. And he's about to graduate. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not buying any of this. So he is going down the entirety of downtown Chicago trying to find Ferris Bueller.
Which, let's talk about that.
Let's.
He's really gotta love his kids.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, he really passionately wants these kids to succeed.
Here's the thing. It's not that he wants Ferris Bueller to succeed, necessarily. It's that he is embarrassed that this child is making him look bad. He says that Ferris Bueller will not let him effectively govern that school. And it is messing with his ego, and he is not big, scary man.
Do you remember Bernie from The Incredibles? Yeah, for those who don't know, he was the guy that was he's like, coincidence? I think not. Yeah, he was that guy. It's essentially, could you imagine if they made this into a cartoon? It would just be Bernie.
Sorry about talking, I'm crying.
You're just so speechless. No, but it's essentially, that's exactly who he is.
Yep.
In the sense of, like, okay, so maybe defending him in the sense of he wants the kids to succeed isn't the right way. He wants to prove that he's not crazy.
Yeah, he wants to take down Ferris Bueller because he's making him look bad.
Exactly. He's like,
which
I gotta
Grace,
make this.
the secretary, even says, but we're not going to quote exactly what it is that she said.
Because they use adult language.
And we're not about that here.
PG.
PG. Woo! Okay.
So, we keep going, and then this is when Ed believes that he's about to catch Ferris Bueller, who's playing a little video game, and he says, roughly, that he's got him. That's roughly. If you want to know what he said, watch the film. So,
roughly, 10 out of 10 recommend.
quote-unquote, Ferris turns around, And it turns out that it's actually a girl.
With short hair and wearing a very similar jacket.
Spot on jacket, white shirt. But she acts almost identical to Ferris of how I think he would have acted.
True. Very true.
Turned around, spit him with a
Coke or whatever.
Coca-Cola or soda pop, and then he's just like, that's not the right person. Mm-hmm. Probably doesn't even go to this school.
Yet again.
Yeah, which makes
Ed Rooney is losing today.
Which makes the joke a little worse when the line is said. But we keep going, and then Cameron is rushing out. He's like, I don't care where Ferris is right now, and no one, like, we just gotta go home. We gotta find the car and go back to school. That's the only thing we can do. And as soon as that happens, they turn into, I don't know, was there a name for the parade? Like, was it a Macy's parade?
St. Patrick's Day parade.
Okay, so for a St. Patrick's Day parade, they were, no, wait. Von Steuben Day.
I'm so sorry. That didn't make sense because that's an Irish holiday and there was German stuff going on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Because the only thing I could read was German American. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
I don't know why I thought it was St. Patrick's Day. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But,
okay.
So Ferris is on a parade float now and is just lip syncing to Wayne Newton's Dankeschön.
Which is a lovely scene. Oh, and I have a thing about that song. Okay. Throughout the entire movie, people are humming this song. I've seen this movie so many times that I've noticed it. Because, okay, in the beginning, when Ferris is, talking to the camera and stuff, and he's saying, like, I have a test on, like, European, like, socialism. He's like, I don't want to be European or whatever. I don't plan on being European, so that doesn't change the fact that I don't have a car or whatever. And then he's like, I recall Central Park and fall, just sitting there in the shower. And then, so there's our first little bit of Dankeschön.
So you think they were, like, kind of foreshadowing it?
It's just a little sprinkle here and there. And then Ed Rooney, at some point, he's on right outside of Ferris's house, and he starts humming Dankeschön just because... Wow. Yeah, because he rang the door and he's waiting, and then he says that, and then we have the parade. It's just, I don't really know
why are you going to make me watch the movie again? Actually, thank you for letting me watch the movie again. So, no, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I just pay attention.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. So, this is probably illegal at that point. Of
him getting onto the float?
Him getting onto the float, because here's my question. Someone was originally supposed to do that, and my backup to that is that they were all choreographed to exactly what to do, right? So what did Ferris do to get that part? I'm hoping bribery.
This changes things.
I'm hoping using his charm.
Maybe but asking politely.
But I'm not saying that he doesn't have a pocket knife.
Oh, good lord!
And he traded it for his position. Where did you think I was going? So
I was right with you on that.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And they're yelling, going like, "You're nuts! You're insane!" And he's just
he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's like, whatever.
Let me do my thing.
Yeah, I'm the cool one here.
I'm Ferris Bueller. Back off.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to take a pause real quick.
Okay.
From the film.
All right.
And this is the part where we explore where we would see ourselves in the film.
Oh, okay.
So the rules are that you can't be a main character. But you can, I know. I really wanted to be Ferris. But it's essentially, would you be the fourth person in that gang, or would you be helping Ed? Would you be a teacher? Would you just be one of the bored kids in class, going like, "I wish I could have skipped school." Oh my gosh!
You know how sad that would be if you were one of the kids in class and you found out that your classmates skipped school and like got to be in a parade.
Senior skip day.
Oh no! We've talked about doing a legit Ferris Bueller's Day Off and going to a restaurant under the name Abe Froman. And going to the museum, and we don't know when there's going to be a parade, but we will hijack the parade.
If not, we will make one and hijack it.
We will make our own parade. No,
we'll get the band and everything.
Who would I be? Who would you be?
Personally, I feel like I'd want to be kind of the friend with Cameron. Yeah. In the sense of like maybe I'd be like not friends with the entire group. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'd be like that guy that's kind of like, hey, I'll catch up with you guys later. I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna do stuff. Yeah. Kind of thing. Either that or probably one of the people in the background in the fancy restaurant just eating.
Yeah.
Just going like, yeah, you got my mac and cheese.
I guess the most ideal role, I don't know, in my eyes would be just like one of the people that's just hanging out while the parade is happening. Everybody's like dancing when they sing and Twist and Shout by the Beatles. That would be a great time.
Would you be dancing in the audience, or would you be one of the performers?
Oh no, I'd be dancing in the audience. That'd be a great time. I think, because you're just in downtown
into it.
Chicago and you're not doing much, and then boom, there's a parade, and you're like, well, I gotta dance, which is not a sight you want to see. But anyways, yeah, that'd be fun.
What, a whole bunch of people dancing? No,
me personally dancing.
Oh.
That is not a skill that I have.
Yeah, and I'm so much better. But we have... So yeah, good to know. So back to the film. We, as you were talking about, Ferris suddenly starts singing the Beatles' Twist and Shout.
Which is a bop.
It's a bop, but more in the sense of, why did that fit in?
It
was a whole German-American thing, and then playing a British song.
I have no idea how that fits in, but it's a good song, so I really can't complain.
Yeah. And then
there's a lot that it's just, when you look, you're like, why? But it's just like, whatever, it's Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
That's the explanation. If you ever want to question anything, you're like, it's Ferris Bueller.
It's Ferris Bueller. Just stop it. It's like when people see a parody and they're like, I don't get it. It's just a parody, man.
Yeah.
So we have, during this scene, a lot of the dancers in the background, like there's a construction worker on the top, there's people dancing on the stairs.
Some people have like an entire like choreographed number to this.
Oh yeah, they were essentially doing a, I can't think of
a flash mob? Isn't that what that's called?
Yeah, essentially a flash mob real quick.
Yeah.
And they're all just dancing real quick, but apparently the construction worker people and the people that were just like by themselves improvised.
Oh yeah, I think those are actual like just people who were in Chicago.
Yeah, but could you imagine going like, do you mind if we record you? Yeah, I guess that's fine. Alright, just start dancing.
Yeah.
Doing good.
You know how fun that would be to film? I think it took like 2 days for that entire parade thing to get filmed.
Oof.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that's gotta be, like, how is work, sweetie? Oh, you would not believe. Met Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Great. Mm-hmm. So, eventually, he gets off, and then this is when, she forgot his name, Cameron, kind of starts to figure out that his life doesn't need a plan, like 24/7.
Yeah, he's like, this is fun.
Yeah, he's like, you know what?
Be like Ferris Bueller. I'll do whatever I want.
Do whatever. Yeah, he's kind of just going with it now, and they get back to the car rental area, and we see that both of the person that's like, I'm a professional, comes back and he parks the car. See, I told you I'd take care of it. They got back in.
He's like, yeah, I trust you. This has been a great day. And then they're driving, and Cameron's like, woohoo, life.
And then the other guy comes up, and he's like, yeah, we gotta do that again sometime. And I'm like, what a spin-off movie that would be of them just stealing cars.
That'd be interesting.
Be interesting, yeah. Or like maybe they're hiding from Ferris. Oh. See, we're really thinking here. Yeah. But eventually they get back home, and they start reading the odometer. And they realize that they've driven over 3,000 miles when in actuality it was...
less than that.
Yeah, it was like 134 and 4 1/12 to the next number. Something like that. It was under 200.
Oh, it was like halfway between 3 and 4 tenths.
Yeah,
I
something
just
around
watched
that
part.
Oh, perfect. Then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Of course, Cameron goes into a kind of shock. Quote unquote. Well, yeah, a little. Well, how would you describe it?
I describe it as he's not blinking or speaking. I hope he's breathing, and he's just kind of vegetable.
You would make a great doctor. How's our child doing? He's not breathing, he's not speaking, he's not breathing. So... Vegetable. That'll be $3,000.
Oh, good lord.
So,
I'm not going to be a doctor.
So... they're trying to snap him out of this by kind of just having fun with him of like, all right, we'll put him by a lifeguard kind of idea, and we'll just kind of swim around. Maybe that'll do it.
If you can understand me, blink. He does not.
Nothing. And Ferris breaks the fourth wall again, going like, oh, by the way, I was serious when he said that he was going to marry Sloane. Yeah. And I'm like, you're in high school.
True.
I don't know about that. What grade is he supposed to be in? 12th?
Yes, he's a senior.
well, crazy. Oh man, where did I go wrong? But yeah, he essentially is like, yeah, I'm really, really honest about marrying this girl. All right. Which in actuality, didn't he marry the sister?
He was engaged, the actor in real life was engaged to the actress Jennifer Grey.
Yeah. And
they were going to get married because they fell in love on set, but they actually called off their wedding.
Oh, okay, so they didn't go through with it.
They didn't actually get married. But yeah, he in the movie said that he was in love with Sloane and everything. That he would marry her.
It's all ooey gooey.
Here's one thing. We're gonna kind of like shift to one of the later parts of the movie. I'm not gonna spoil anything that happens.
Yeah, because we don't spoil anything in this podcast.
He's running through some people's backyards to try to get home, and there's these two ladies in bikinis sunbathing in the shade. By the way,
which very counterproductive.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. But anyways, he
jumps over
them, and then it sits still for me. He's like, "Hi, I'm Ferris Bueller." It's like, didn't you just say that you were gonna get married to Sloane? And here you are trying to charm two sunbathing ladies.
Which, can I just say, those ladies were completely chill. They were just like,
oh yeah, they're like, this kid just jumped over our chairs.
Yeah, all the other...
While we're sunbathing in the shade.
We'll talk about that later, because all the other neighbors act very realistically of like, why is he just running through our house? And he's just like, you want a suntan here in the shade? It's sun's going down too, so...
Yeah, it's like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, which is late for school. He had a long school day.
He had a very long school day. Maybe he had test corrections.
He had test corrections, or maybe he went to the Breakfast Club.
Oh!
He's the secret member that they don't talk about. Oh. And then throughout this film, by the way, kind of rewinding throughout the entirety of the film, it's apparent that the school really cares for Ferris, as you were talking about. Oh, yeah. So much so that they think... What did they think at the very end? He needs a kidney transplant?
Yeah, he needed a kidney transplant, so they were raising money.
Yeah, save Ferris.
Save Ferris. Save Ferris. They're like... And then the sister was like, are you kidding me? And he's like...
I've never... He needs a kidney transplant right now. Why would we ever care about his health?
Yeah. And then something. They're like, well, Ferris is going to do something one day for you, you heartless wench.
Yeah. Yeah, because she knocks the can out of his hand. When he
dies, he's going to donate his eyes to Stevie Wonder. Isn't he a sweetie? That was a line.
Which I know this will make sense to you, but probably not a whole lot of people. Mm-hmm. Silly question. Do you know John Mulaney?
I do know John Mulaney.
Crazy. So back in 2008, he was on a show called Just for Laughs, or the like a stage show.
I don't know that.
Yeah, and I'll show it to you after. He made a joke that was essentially I forgot the actor, but it was like the actor recommended that he had his eyes removed and given to two people. Mm-hmm. And he came up with this whole sketch that was like met at first sight, and they both just look it up. Just look up John Mulaney eye sketch or something.
He also mentions Ferris Bueller in, I believe it's Newintown. No, not Newintown. The other one. The Comeback Kid.
Oh, yeah.
And he was making fun of Back to the Future. And they were talking about Marty McFly. And they're like, oh, is he cool like Ferris Bueller? And they're like, no. He's very lazy. Yeah, and that's irrelevant completely.
Yeah, because we don't watch the John Mulaney stuff too much. No. I can stop when I want.
Yeah, I totally don't watch it every weekend.
I don't
have multiple segments memorized.
I don't look up Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and only watch those parts.
No, that'd be crazy.
So, yeah, I also watched the noir one. So, we keep going, and then, it's kind of apparent throughout this film that there's, billboards, and there's signs, and there's a water tower at one point.
That says Save Ferris.
Save Ferris, I'm like, that's
and Jeannie's
fast.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, come on. Which, another Disney reference, she reminded me of Candace.
You know what? Yeah.
In the sense that she's
wants to bust her brother.
Yeah. Mom, Ferris is playing sick again and going to Chicago downtown.
What's that, sweetie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only we had a Doofenshmirtz. But...
Is Doofenshmirtz... Wow.
No, because there's no platypus.
No, right.
That's a sad fate. But rewind or fast forwarding back to where we were. Eventually, Cameron, gets back to him. He wakes back up.
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
Yeah, after he attempts to drown himself, which...
But, like, also doesn't. Like,
yeah, he's like, he knows that it's fine, but at the same point, I was a little worried for him in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong?
Yeah, so he wakes back up, and then, what was it? It was, Salone asks him a question. Like, did you see me change in the tower over there? He doesn't. He gives, like, the biggest smile. I was like, that's a bit of a jerk move, Cameron. I don't know.
Cameron.
Come on. And not to blink. No. But yeah, he wakes back up and he's like, I'm going to go and check on the car. And he gets there. I don't know why they thought that putting the car in... I don't know much about cars. But I don't think reversing it gets rid of miles. I meant
to learn about cars, and then I forgot.
It was just... I don't think that's feasible in the sense that wouldn't that kind of add miles? Because you're still moving?
Just, you're still going miles, just backwards.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. So really the gauge might have just...
I don't think that works. If you're a car person, please let me know.
I know a couple. I'll do some research.
If that would work. Because I really don't think so. That it does.
But what I love is that they go like, it's not working, and they keep it on. They're like, maybe it'll work if we talk about it not working. So Cameron's like, that's it. I'm just like, that he cares more about the car than his wife, and he doesn't allow, like, I gotta stand up for myself. I'm gonna own this all for myself. And he starts beating up the front of the car, which many people who love or own a Ferrari probably hide their eyes or just skip this part because it's so heart-wrenching to them.
It's pretty heart-wrenching.
Yeah, it was like, there's 100 men. No. And apparently there was only one car, so that was done in one take.
Oh.
Which comes back to the other part where he kicks it so much that it flies out of the window.
Yeah. And so, bye-bye Ferrari 250-something Spider.
It was so beautiful. But apparently what they had to do, and this was on a documentary they had recently of it, was they had to, they set up multiple cameras so that they could take different like angles and different shots of it.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like, could you
imagine?
You're
only going to do this once, so you might as well get all your bases covered.
John Hughes wakes up and he's like, okay, today's the day. We're going to launch a Ferrari.
Destroy this beautiful automobile.
Yeah, that's only 100. Now there's 99.
I highly recommend it. It is so choice.
Yeah. And Ferris immediately, finally takes responsibility and he goes, I'll take the blame for this. Don't worry. And Cameron's like, nope, I got it. I'll do this. And there's triumphant music and it's all happy.
And this is what we call character development.
On Cameron's part.
Yes, on Cameron's part.
Yes.
Ferris Bueller is just Ferris Bueller through and through, never changes.
No. So, flies out the window, and then Ferris takes Salone home, and do they kiss in this scene?
I think so.
Yeah. And they have like a last hurrah, and it's like, yay. What I love was that they formatted it so much that it was like a first kiss. Mm-hmm. But like we're way past
we
that.
Are past. Yeah.
So it's he goes like, oh shoot, I gotta go home because Jeannie is driving home from the police station, which we completely forgot about.
Oh yeah.
Long story short, we have Jeannie skips school in order to find Ferris, and then she's taken into the police station, and then their mother has to pick her up, and they leave.
And the reason why she was in the police station is because Ed Rooney tried to go into Ferris Bueller's home to see if he was there, and Jeannie was home, and she thought that Ed was Ferris, and Ed thought that Jeannie was Ferris, and they both see each other, and they're freaking out, and she's freaking out, so then she calls the police, there's a man in my house, please help. And then they think it's a phony phone call. So
I really don't want a teacher or anyone on that matter breaking into my house.
I don't want anyone breaking into my house. Yeah,
preferably.
Yeah. Goodness.
If I give you permission, then fine. But it's probably to grab one thing. So yeah, they're on their way home, and Jeannie almost rams straight into Ferris with her car, and that's when she goes like, I'm gonna beat him home.
Yeah.
And they start running through, and this is when we were talking about him running through the neighbors' homes and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the neighbors, except for the two women suntanning in the shade, as the sun was going down, acted very much how I think they would, in the sense of the father was like, what are you doing? And the mother was, ah. But the kids, when he's running out and he goes, dinner's ready, just for the kids to go, like, who's that?
Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, thanks. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah. What's for dinner?
Yeah.
And eventually Ferris does get home, and Ed is also there and slams his foot down. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but there's a certain teacher that teaches film who played a jerk move and paused it here.
What?
Yeah. So he's listening to this, and this might affect my grade. It should give me extra credit. But either way, it was just so, like, He did that in Rear Window, too. The climax. Someone's, like, banging on the door, and he's like,
oh, yeah.
all right, you're going to have to see the rest at home.
Yeah, we were one that I actually finished.
Yeah, we were both in there, and it's like, why would you do this?
So, do you know what happens?
Robin Hood, we finished that one.
Oh.
His favorite.
Wow.
So, what were you going to say?
Do we know what happens at the end, then?
I don't know what I've seen the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what happens, but a lot of people in my class were like, we have no idea what happens.
Well, for you that don't know, because it was...
Because you stopped the film now in a podcast.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll fill you in on what happens?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So Ed Rooney is like, gotcha. And he's like, you got me, whatever. But he's just scared.
He's got a plan.
Jeannie opens the door and she's like... Ferris, we've been looking for you everywhere. We're worried sick or whatever. And he's like, wait, what? And just looks from Rooney to Jeannie to Rooney to Jeannie. And then she winks out and like, I got you or whatever. And Rooney's like, wait a minute.
Development.
Yes, character development yet again. And she's like, please come inside. We've been worried about you. And she's like, oh, thank you, Rooney or whatever, for bringing him home or whatever.
From fleeing the hospital.
Yeah, right, yes.
Yep.
And then... she's like, oh, and by the way, Mr. Rooney, you left your wallet here because he dropped it while he was breaking into the house. And he's like, and then
they're like, Ferris, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm fine, but I might need tomorrow off too. And I was like, all right. Yeah. So the parents leave, and then Ferris once again says his most famous line,
life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it.
Which is, he's right.
He is very right. That could be my senior quote. So if anyone is listening to this and is a senior, don't use it. It's mine.
Can I use it?
No.
Oh. I'll just use Rooney's where he just goes, Rooney. 1986. So during the end credits, Rooney heads back home and he gets onto a school bus, and of course the students are like, what is he doing? And then this is when one of the most famous... there's plenty in here, but one of the most famous scenes come where Ferris walks out and he's like, what are you guys doing here? Show's over.
Go home.
Go home.
Go.
And
it's so funny.
There we go. Done.
And
who thought that Marvel did end credits first? It was Ferris Bueller first.
It was Ferris Bueller.
So that about does it for the film.
Yeah.
I did want to touch base on who played the was it Grace that was the assistant?
Yes.
Was she the person that also played... you've seen Monsters University.
I have.
I want to see if she's the person that played Gibby's mother. Not Gibby. Squiggle or whatever.
Oh, wait.
Because she...
Wait a minute.
Right?
I don't think so.
No, it just sounds very much like her, and that's all that reminded me. She's still acting today.
Oh, wow.
She was Gerda in Frozen, everyone's favorite character.
Who?
Gerda, from Frozen. Hold on, we gotta do some research real quick on who Gerda was.
Who?
Gerda. Well, that's in my search history. Gerda Frozen. Was she the mother? Oh, she's the... Who are you?
She didn't say anything.
She probably had one line.
But she didn't.
Oh, look at the side. It makes the mouse a little snowflake. Oh, jeez.
It's speaking.
It's talking, and I don't like it. I don't like muting, and it says, Frozen Wiki is talking. No, she just oversees the castle.
She doesn't say anything.
I don't know. It's weird.
What?
She was in the books, too.
Oh.
Cool. Gerda read books to Olaf after he moved into the castle. That's nice.
Oh, that's so nice.
Good on you, Gerda. So anyway, she plays that, and then she's also in Zootopia, Wreck-It Ralph. She played Miss Butterworth in the 2012 infamous food fight.
I've never heard of that in my entire life.
Long story short, it's a film that was quickly rushed, but it had a lot of famous people in it, and it's terrible. I think it made like $11,000 at the box office, like $11,000.
Okay.
But no, so she's still around. Good for her. She was in an ABC After School special. Anyway, so
In 70
back on topic, what would you say is the overall lesson of the film?
Skipping school isn't so bad.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
In the sense of, if I've learned anything...
I mean, they just end it perfectly. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. Maybe not literally saying, skip school tomorrow, but just saying, like, you know.
If you're going to go to school, make it fun.
Yeah, just have fun.
I mean, when you go to school.
Yeah.
Because school's important or whatever.
Yeah, just not being so uptight and doing things the same way all the time forever and ever, but just like
go with it.
Just have fun. Just try something new every once in a while.
Yeah, if it works, great. If
take
not,
risks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
I'd say that's a pretty good lesson to learn from it.
Yeah.
I'd say personally probably a lesson I learned is that fancy restaurants are very difficult.
They are so mean.
Yeah.
Fancy people are snooty.
I can't believe that they wouldn't let us in to a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so out of 10, I'm trying to think of something unique here. Out of 10, let's say, what's something that's you think Ferris Bueller, you think, bam. Out of 10 crashed Ferraris.
Okay.
How many crashed Ferraris would you give this film?
10.
Go on.
Because
why would you give it 10?
I mean, it's timeless. It is a timeless movie because it brings
I want to say
people...
you're the first perfect score that we've had. Actually no, Anthony. I don't know if Anthony gave Lion King, the cartoon one, a perfect 10 or not. He might have.
I might be too generous, but I'm giving it a 10 because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's
no bias or anything.
So, it's timeless because, I mean, it talks about teenagers that don't know what they want to do with their lives. Because, you know, when Ferris is in the parade and everything, they're like, so what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to go to college. And she's like, for what? And he's like, I have no idea. And then someone's like, well, what are you interested in? And he's like, nothing. And she's like, you know what? Me neither. Yeah. And, you know, they're just kids. They're about to graduate in a couple of months and they have no idea what they're going to do. Relatable. It's absolutely timeless.
Well, you figured out on this podcast you're not thinking of being a doctor.
Yeah, that's been predetermined. Teenage angst, like Jeannie just like hating her brother, but, you know, loving him at the end of the day, like we see when she saves him from Rooney and getting like held back another year. Hating high school, that's a shared theme everywhere, all the time, constantly.
It's like hating a veggie anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that for me.
So I don't want you to be too mad, but I'm giving it a 1.
Oh!
No. Out of 10 crash Ferraris, I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Okay.
And
how dare you?
I'm sorry. But the reason behind that is I feel like this is a film that you can definitely just throw in and watch no matter what.
Yeah.
Where like you're like, oh, what's a movie that everyone can enjoy? This one. Like as long as you've been in high school, you can very much relate to the characters. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would have wanted to talk more like about in the film is 2 things. I would have wanted Cameron's backstory to be elaborated a little more, like if we met the father, possibly, or like he just kind of showed up and immediately went to the garage. And I just wanted the scenes in the city a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Or something. But realistically, that in my defense, for like if I'm asking for more, then that definitely does show how good of a movie this is.
True.
So I still very much appreciate it. I don't. Do you think if they made a sequel, it would be good?
No. Absolutely
How come?
not. Because you can't top perfection.
That's true. That's a good reason.
Oh, I had a thing to say and then I forgot it.
Was it about the conspiracy theory?
Oh, we can talk about that for sure.
I wanted to save that one till the end.
Yeah, but no, I feel like there was something else too, and I just forgot it.
Okay. I gotta say, going from this film from the last podcast that we've at least recorded, this one will go out next, but the one we've recorded last was Planet of the Apes 2.
Oh.
Ooh. Don't. It's rough.
I don't plan on it.
No, because needs to say, the returning guest, my dad was like, we're gonna watch that one too, right? Yeah, sure, it can't be that bad. It has a 38 in Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think that this one's a bit better, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was a movie, I think it got a 0%.
Even the Emoji Movie has 12, I thought.
Yeah, it came out recently, and I actually wanted to see it. It looked hilarious. It was called, I think, Holmes and Watson.
Oh, yeah, that was with Will
Ferrell and that one other guy.
That won an award for being the worst movie of 2018.
Literally, no, it said it was the worst movie ever.
Oh, that's a pretty high honor.
Which, I'm shocked.
I'm going to find someone to do a podcast.
And I want to see it because, right. I mean, it looked hilarious.
Maybe we'll have you return for that.
Absolutely. I want to know why it was so bad. I feel like you need to see the worst movie ever.
Yeah. Like, that's a requirement.
It looked funny.
Rotten Tomatoes gave this an 80%. IMDb gave it a 7.8, and Roger Ebert gave it a 75, or 3 out of 4. But Google gave it a 95.
You go Google. You know where it's at.
So there's me, Google, you.
Yeah. My rating is superior.
Yeah, your rating is correct. That's the main thing, is that everything on this podcast is correct.
This is fact.
This is fact. This isn't like opinions or anything. This is correct.
This is the ultimate truth. The supreme law of the land. Move over, Constitution. This is the supreme law of the land. Thank you, Mr. Lettingham.
Jonathan Schmuck played Maitre D, who I believe is the fancy person.
Okay, click on him.
Everyone can hear the clicking noise. Oh, he was only in this one. That was his only film.
What?
Chez que Maitre D. I'm butchering that.
Maitre D. No,
yeah.
Please. I did French on Duolingo.
He was in The Golden Girls. Yes. And Big Time Rush. I forgot about that show. Star Trek. Enterprise, Big Bang. Oh, never mind. He's been in a couple.
Wow. Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was a developer for that.
Oh, and a writer. On Real Time with Bill Maher, Blossom Brotherly Love.
I have no idea what those are.
Me neither. But he did them.
Interesting.
Good for him. He's still alive.
You go, Jonathan Schmuck.
This one's for you.
This one's for you.
So,
this is dedicated to Jonathan Schmuck.
Thank you for playing the Maitre D. All I'm thinking about is the Friend Like Me song that goes like...
Yes! And life is your
Mr. Ronson.
And I'm your Maitre D. Yes.
Yeah, so... Alright, that about does it for this. So,
except we're going to talk about the imaginary friend theory.
That's true.
We forgot about that.
The floor is yours.
Alright,
I'm going to stay quiet.
I'm not going to talk about this for very long because I am not 100% knowledgeable.
You made the theory.
About the theory? I did not make the theory. I read about it this morning. There's a theory that Ferris Bueller was Cameron Fry's imaginary friend.
Gasp.
I'm shocked. So hear me out because it sounds weird.
I can't believe it.
I pulled up a thing about it. Okay.
So the whole idea is that it's like Cameron is the main character, but imagining this person.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard the theory of Grace, where the girl is imagining everything and she's in a coma. That's why she gets the guy at the end of the film. I don't know. That's a whole nother topic. But
okay.
Either way.
Anyways, yeah, they say that Ferris Bueller is a figment of Cameron's imagination. One day while he's lying sick in bed, Cameron lets Ferris steal his father's car and take the day off. This is from fantheories.fandom.com.
Reliable.
And as Cameron wanders around the city, all of his interactions with Ferris and Sloane, all the impossible hijinks are just played out in his head. This is part of the reason why the three characters can see so much of Chicago in less than one day. Cameron is alone, just imagining it all. It isn't until he destroys the front of the car that he finally gets a grip and decides to confront his father, after which he imagines a final impossible escape for Ferris in a storybook happy ending for Sloane.
Yeah, you didn't read any of that before, so I was still curious of how the theory was formed.
Yeah, here's the evidence.
Oh, please.
There are Save Ferris messages all over the city, which represents how Cameron wishes someone would care about him, and also helps the idea that the film is merely a fantasy, because he doesn't have that, like, super loving parental relationship like Ferris's parents do, like you see in the beginning when they're like,
oh, we really care for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cameron's father is controlling, and he has a very unhappy home life, so creating a popular, outgoing friend would make his existence happier, because Cameron and Ferris are opposites. He's just like, I'm dying, leave me alone, and Ferris is like, hey, let's go party.
Let's go, bro.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking through the film. I can definitely see there's some more evidence of, like, in the fancy restaurant, how he's able to eat in that way and no one judges him.
Yeah. I mean,
makes more sense.
You know, you can interpret any
So
movie
is Ferris really
you
breaking the
want.
fourth wall, or is he really talking to Cameron? Plot twist!
Oh my gosh! That's even more evidence. Oh my goodness. So yeah.
So hey, if the people of that theory want to hit us up, let's talk about it.
Let's chat.
Get on the podcast. I want to talk to you. Yeah. So now we got to rewatch it so we can view it in that eye.
Ooh.
So yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, of
course. Doing all this. I heard that you've been promoted to skipper.
I have.
Of your new job.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the world famous Jungle Cruise. My name is Emmy, and I'll be your skipper, guide, social director, and dance instructor for the next 3 weeks.
Woo! Woo! Okay, so Emmy's taking me on a cruise.
Woo!
Or at least around this lake, which should be safe, right?
Yeah.
Legally, it's safe, right?
Do you think it's safe legally?
You made me sign a waiver.
Then yes.
Okay, then. All right, so thank you all for listening, and if I survive, then you'll hear another podcast from me, hopefully. And until next time, see you later.
All right, bye, guys.